Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. So, looks like we got a pretty full house here this morning. We've got everyone spread out properly. If anyone needs an extra chair or something, Glenn, I think we're good. Looks okay. So, why don't we start, Jerry, with the financials?
I got a prayer there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
We can start with a prayer. Everybody like to bow their heads. That's great. Dear Lord, hopefully we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel with the coronavirus. Hopefully it's not an oncoming train. Let there be light in my mind. Let every dark thought be illuminated. Let every shadow of fear be dissipated by the light of Christ. Let the bright and shining ideas of love and truth and faith be revealed to us. Let there be light in every part of my being. Light that radiates in and through us. Light that is healing with its rays. Light that sheds its glow on all the world, on all who is part of it. Let light shine upon our hospitals, nursing homes, first responders, and all of our departments in Geauga County that are working around the clock. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jim. Okay.
Financials from April 14th included, among other items, an encumbrance to then and now from JFS to Ohio Guidestone for October 2019 PNF services not previously encumbered, and vouchers included $475,718.39 from the Commissioner's Office to Then Design Architecture Limited for payment number 1 for architectural planning for the new county offices, $480,226.55 from Water Resources to Workman Industrial Services for payment request number 3 in the Auburn Corners Troy Oaks upgrades and conversion project.
Okay.
The next one too.
For items that I approved for the resolution that was passed back in January, on April 14th for transit, approved an unpaid leave of absence for Gary Barath, part-time driver, due to the COVID-19 pandemic for up to a maximum of 160 hours during the period of payroll number 9 through payroll number 10, following the use of all remaining vacation time. There was 4 approvals of that. Second approval was for John Martin, part-time driver. Third approval was for Marvin Springer, part-time driver. And fourth approval was for Francis O'Malley, part-time driver. And all those were due to the COVID-19 pandemic for up to a maximum of 160 hours during the period of payroll number 9 through the end of payroll number 10, following the use of all remaining vacation time. And on April 20th, for aging, approved an unpaid leave of absence for Rita Peener, part-time adult day services due to the COVID-19 pandemic, effective April 15th, 2020 through the end of payroll period number 12. And then transit, approved and executed the Ohio Motor Fuel Tax refund claim for transit buses for the period of January 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2020 in the amount of $4,031.08, $792.58 for diesel, and $3,238.50 for gasoline. And for Water Resources, approved and executed the Ohio Water Development Authority Fund payment request number 11 for technical services for the Chardon Township wastewater treatment plant and sewers project ending drive in the amount of $6,186.91.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, Commissioners, just wanted to, some good news is that, of course, our county risk sharing authority, we do our renewal in November. We receive our bill right now, which we have, and it is a 1.4% reduction. Just wanted to bring to your attention that they have added benefits to our coverage, and also that we realized a $14,456 discount due to all the departments chipping in and doing all the things that we need to do in the trainings and HR trainings and The sheriff department in particular does so much to ensure that they keep up with everything so that we can receive that discount. So there's some good news, at least it's a 1.4 reduction this year, so.
Nice. Thank you. Planning Commission. Yeah.
I need a motion to approve the
Oh, I'm sorry.
payment of the course of renewal for $336,875.
I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Right?
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
And then
And then you
So today's financials include a transfer from the general fund, the various sheriff expense accounts to return appropriations for refunded out-of-county inmate medical expenses and other miscellaneous reimbursement checks deposited into the general fund. Also a supplemental from the engineer's office to fully appropriate their road fund. Cash transfers include a transfer from the general fund to community development, Metzenbaum, and Board of Elections for the first quarter 2020 interest transfer, and from the general fund to Family First for our April through June 2020 commitment. Encumbrances include a purchase order increase from the Commissioner's Office for Corsa to pay the county property and liability insurance premiums, and from JFS to Ohio Job and Family Services for the purchase of 15 Microsoft Surface laptops purchased with state technology and service support funds. Among the vouchers are $2,500 from the Commissioner's Office to Corsa for the payment of the deductible for hiring representation for Auditor Walder, $2,831.64 from the Commissioner's Office to Manzanek, Raskin, and Ryder for attorney fees over and above the limits for hiring of representation for Auditor Walder, and $5,363.59 from the Commissioner's Office also to Manzanek, Raskin, and Ryder for attorney fees over and above the limits for hiring of representation for Prosecutor Flays. And finally, $20,844.82 from Water Resources to GPD for engineering services related to the Auburn Corners wastewater treatment plant upgrades and Troy Oaks conversion project.
The legal fees, there's two of them, for the auditor and for the prosecutor. What were those in regards to?
The auditor case, the one auditor case was the lawsuit from the attorneys that were from the juvenile court that weren't getting paid because of the lack of the paperwork that was being provided by the juvenile court to the auditor. So they were suing them to be paid. The one with the $2,500 is actually, that was the case that involved Kim Laurie suing the auditor's office in federal court over being kept out of the auditor's office. And then the prosecutor's claim was the claim that a citizen brought against the prosecutor's office for failure to failure to provide the necessary or the public records that she had requested. And in all three of those cases, the individual who brought the claims did not win.
Okay.
So we have a limit on how much the insurance company who takes over those cases will do before we have to start paying for it.
Yeah, so just so you know, there was $27,500 paid. That was the cap at Corsa for those types of claims. So we were a little surprised, frankly, when we started receiving those bills, because we had maxed out, which very rarely happens. So it's an aggregate. So on top of what Adrian was saying, Corsa had already shelled out almost $28,000 too. So.
For the total, for
Yes.
those two?
Yes, well, there was actually
There were
one
three.
more.
Or three?
There were a couple other cases earlier in the year that brought that up too, so it's not, these three cases individually didn't add up to the $28,000, there was a couple other cases.
Right, that the aggregate, amounted to that. That's why we ended up paying.
These are all 2019.
19, yeah.
So is this all completely closed then?
I believe all three of those cases are closed.
And who didn't win?
The person who brought the claim, to the attorneys who brought the claim against.
The county prevailed in all three of them.
Okay.
There was an additional small invoice that just came in on one of them. I just saw that yesterday. So I sent that over to Debbie, but it's minor, like under $20, I think, or something like that, so.
Well, hopefully that'll be the end of that, and, you know, especially in today's context, you know, looking back, it you know.
Seems trivial.
Yes, right. That is money that we could use in other areas for sure. One other question I had, I don't see, is Craig here from JFS? So at ADP, I saw there was approval for purchase, the grant money for the tablets for job and family services. Do you know, was that something prior to this whole COVID thing, or was that?
They were planning on doing that. I think they sped it up.
Okay.
The COVID thing, but yeah, they were working towards having those, because that allows them to, you know,
Work remotely.
Yeah, it allows their personnel to, when they go out to a site, to actually put the information right in, rather than writing it down and then going back and typing it in, and
Right.
so but I think they sped it up as a result of the COVID.
Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, that, you know, this, one thing this COVID is, I think it has taught everybody that we can get things done in different ways, and maybe we'll be, at the other end of this, be a little more efficient in the way we approach things, you know, not just do things the way we've always done them. So,
Forced everybody to think.
yeah, exactly, exactly, so, okay. Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments related to the financials?
Okay.
Okay, a motion, please.
So, second.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner
Yes, thank you. Okay, Plan Commission. Hi, Linda.
Morning.
Morning.
Okay, this is a relatively straightforward replat in Auburn Township. It's been consolidated two acre lots that Eric and Amy Beckers own on Chanticleer Court and Chateau Trail. The consolidated total is going to be 4 acres. Their house is located on the northern parcel, and it's going to take one sublot out of development, out of the subdivision. And Township zoning approved it, and it was approved by Planning Commission on March 10th.
Make that motion.
No, I got one. Thanks. Here's a one.
I didn't hear him, so, sorry.
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, Sheriff's Office. Morning. Morning. Okay. Grant?
Yeah, this is the Violence Against Women's Act grant. This is basically the one employee that's on primary duties. So she handles domestic violence or any other violence against women. We come to twice a year because the way these grants are split up. No real big change.
Good.
The Sheriff's Office is requesting the board approve and authorize the President of the Board to execute the Office of Criminal Justice Services VAWA grant, sub-grant award agreement for grant 2019 WFBA 28214 in the amount of $39,997.71, $29,998.28 from OCJS, and $9,999.43 local county match for the period January 1st through December 31st, 2020, and for grant 2018 WFBA 28214A in the amount of $39,997.71, $29,998.28 from OCJS, and $9,999.43 local county match for the period January 1st through June 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes. Thank you. Stay safe. Morning.
Morning.
Yeah.
On this one, you're gonna have to sign both pages,
Good. Okay.
because they signed them in counterpart.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, good morning.
Yep.
So our office is here to request the board to extend the time period for completing this paving out there from our old grant, our 17 grant for the paving at the DEC clinic. You recall, we extended it last year, and then the ODSA agreed to extend it through May 11. And we're just requesting the board to execute a change order extending our paperwork to coincide with that order.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Aye.
Ward?
Yes.
Thank you, Dee.
Up to you. You can say right there if you want.
Yep. Morning, Glenn.
Morning.
Sure what he was doing with that chair.
I'm like,
Thought it was a carnival act or something.
Good, man, show. Yeah.
we got too much paperwork.
Okay,
The first one is for the lawn maintenance for the county, so we brought a couple more JFS, a little bit more and transit on board, trying to get everybody on board with one contract. So this is a 1 year for $30,000 or $29,000.
so this firm's, they're gonna be doing all those?
Correct.
Instead of breaking them up into?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
And this is the lowest bid.
Yes. So,
Yeah, and we've done business with these guys before, I think, right?
correct,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep. So I looked, like I looked at it, trying to do it in-house and everything, it's just,
Great, yeah.
for this, it's just,
They've got the equipment, the crews, and they're in and out.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, if we could have a motion on number 8, please.
So moved.
Second?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
The next one's for roof repairs with Garland DBS. We have a couple repairs that we need to get done on the annex, the outhouse. All right, so this is just, but I've lumped this in with better. We have buildings 1, 2, 3 we can put under this group also. So if we need repairs done on that and everything, we can get repairs done.
So do you know that there's an issue, or is this
Yes.
just a preventative?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
preventative, and we do have one issue up at the annex
Okay.
where we got a leak. So
Okay.
we've been working that, and we gotta get that one done. Hopefully next week or the week after, I come in with another roofing company. They do more of a rubberized, where this company doesn't. So they'll do a couple of our rubberized roofs around the county.
Okay.
Make that motion.
Second?
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
The next one's Ash's window cleaning. This is something that we've been doing. This is for all county buildings, the courthouse where they get a lift, and the annex where they get a lift and clean the outside, clean the sills and everything, clean the screens and everything all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, we gotta continue to take care of our properties, but just, moving forward, we're gonna, obviously, I think we're gonna be probably saying this a lot in the near future, is to, we need to be very mindful of our general fund budget money, going forward. So, I know things that we've always done in the past, seem like maybe necessities and such, but I think until we have a clearer picture of what the future is gonna bring to us and what the impact's gonna be on our budget here, I'd like to, I don't know if this is, we're getting ahead of ourselves here a little bit, but, pump the brakes here. I think we can tell that the road is going to be icy, and I think we need to slow down a little bit. And a lot of the things that we've done in the past, fixing a hole in the roof, I mean, that's something we've got to do. But, maybe cleaning windows, that would maybe fall under a, something that we could put off for a little bit until we have a clear picture. I know that you
Now, remember also, a lot of these, like
Yeah.
JFS, remember, we're trying to bring everything in, so we do a lot of cost allocation where we go back and charge. So it's not all coming from the general fund,
Okay,
so.
I see. But you know what I'm trying to
No,
say.
I totally, I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a little problem myself with this one,
Yeah.
but I also gotta look at, it's cleaning.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I know there was a lot of fight 3-4 years ago of bringing cleaners in-house. I'll sit here and tell you, if I still had contracts, I would have never, I'd be sitting here in front of you asking for money. So these guys,
Right.
contractors could come in and clean.
Right.
What we have in-house, they have really stepped it
Done
up.
a good job. Yep, I've heard it.
And done all kinds of stuff and gone above and beyond
Yep.
of cleaning and recleaning. Where with the contractor, I would have had to come back and ask to up the contract for all that.
Sure, absolutely.
So,
No, that was a good,
and, even with security, where, I feel that, the prosecutors, the sheriff's department and everybody, where they see one face, and they've done the background check on them, so they feel comfortable with them in their areas. So,
okay. I don't know, I don't know if I'm being a little too proactive or too aggressive, but the window cleaning contract for $34,000, to me, sitting here today, knowing the uncertainty or not knowing the future, that would be one that I would probably put on the shelf for now. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but personally, that's, if we were running a company right now and we were laying employees off and we were having financial difficulties on the horizon, I think the last thing we'd be thinking about is cleaning our windows. So I'm going to, on that one, I'm going to probably not, I'm going to put that on the back burner for me personally.
So let me ask you, can we just hold off on this for a little bit then? Just, we can table it for another, maybe a month or two? And then we could just kind of see where
Reassess
things
it.
are,
Yeah.
reassess it, because I know this is for a 2-year period, I believe, right?
Yep.
So basically about 17,000 a year.
yeah.
So if we could do that, I would make a motion to table it.
Let's take another look at this in a month and just see where we're at. God willing that this thing is, comes back as fast as we shut it down, we're able to open back up and the economy follows suit. That would be the ideal situation, but I think for now, I think the prudent thing to do is to circle the wagons here and really be very, very conservative with spending the contract. So I'll second it. I'll second that, Ralph.
Commissioner DeWark?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiller?
Aye.
Great, yes. Thank you, Glenn. And then the 11.
11's, their heating unit is going down, so it's on its last leg, so we're trying to be proactive about that. They have 2 units out there in that building, so we're also we're going to switch it over from electric to gas out there when we put the new one in. So, and that's what this is for.
Is it
Is it need to be done right now? No, it does not, but it's something that's been in the works,
okay?
so.
Yeah,
But we do need to get it done before next winter.
okay.
So
Let's
there's
put
no
that on
if-
the plan too.
There's
Yeah.
no ifs, ands, buts about it,
Okay,
so,
but they are operable with heat right now?
yes.
Okay.
Like I said, it's going to go down.
Why don't we
This is
keep,
the time.
why don't we keep that one on the list, the punch list of things that we need to do?
Okay.
But again, I would maybe wait to see what happens here in the next, let's wait till.
Move
the
to
next
table
meeting.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got
Don't
no
sign
problem
it.
with that, just.
Don't sign it.
okay. Let me see
You
that.
guys are signing, and I'm like, wait a minute, you guys
Yeah, oh,
are
I thought this
tabling
was
it.
the one before.
No.
Okay.
Because you tabled that one, I already took that one
Okay,
back.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yep, yep. Okay,
But this is something that we need to get done before winter.
Yeah.
okay,
So,
Understood.
there's no ifs, ands, buts about it.
okay. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Glenn.
So do we
Appreciate
have a
it.
second on that table?
Second.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Yes. Okay, what about other types of resources? Now, I know there's been some talk about when we do begin to fully become operational again, and maybe some type of, when we're interacting with the public in a full capacity, building some type of there's lots of traffic, like say the clerks or the auditor's office or treasurer, where there's a lot of interaction. Is there a way to build some type of, like at the grocery stores with the plexiglass? Or
Some of the areas, like the recorders, we've already done that. We put up what I call cattle straps. You strap it so people can't get across. Working with the health department and DES, Roger Peterson, Best Solutions of coming up with different things for different areas.
Okay.
We've ordered some more plexiglass, so that should be en route. Hand sanitizers
Right.
and different things like that. So working with other departments of what's the best way to go with all the departments.
But as far as your, are these expenses, are they been coming out of your budget,
Yes.
those type of things? Okay.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
yes. So I know we've been working with Roger. Some of it comes out of his, some of it comes out of mine. We got a lot of stuff going on, so.
Okay.
Are you planning on putting the plexiglass in Matt's department? Because that's pretty much wide open.
That's,
Sharon's office
sure,
and Matt's.
yes. We put one already up there.
Okay.
On the main counter. We've also put a strap there to stop the public. She's also, before they go in, because people have to go in there to touch the books, they have to wash their hands or sanitize their hands and things like that. I think she might have gone with masks if they're going into the area too, so I don't know for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, her setup is not ideal, for
It's-
sure.
Public has
I mean, they
to
come
get in.
right through her office.
They have to get in there to get
Yeah.
to the books.
Yeah.
So she's taken every precaution possible that we have in place. And like I said, anything that I go out, I try to go back to the health department with Roger. Hey, this is what I want to do.
Okay.
Yes, no.
But as those requests come in, I would just say that, what I was gonna say is that we're here to help you with that type of stuff. So, your budget, if you're needing help with that, let us know. Because I think we're gonna get a lot of different types of requests as to, how each office is gonna wanna operate.
We've gotten some ridiculous requests, but I've been able to calm those down.
Okay.
What I think are ridiculous, but we've been able to calm them down and say, listen, let's go this approach. So I know we're looking at working Roger if it does come to state mandatory or mask, we're already looking at trying, where do we get masks, where do we get more gel or spray.
Right.
So Roger's really stepped up and really done an outstanding
No,
job.
it's been fantastic. Everybody.
Health department,
Mhm.
anytime I've had a question, they've been able, I know they probably get tired of seeing me, but
They've been
just asking to make sure that I'm on the right track and going the right direction and everything for
Okay.
the safety of the county employees.
Well, let us know if we can help in any way here, with yours.
Next week, we're gonna probably be washing some windows, so I might
Okay.
need some help with that.
Hey,
Get a JLG out.
I'm cheap. Yeah, I'm cheap labor. Okay, thank you, Glenn.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your help. Okay, water resources. Yeah.
Good morning, John. Morning. How are you? Got 4 items today for the commissioners. The first one, number 12, is to increase service contract for an amount of $13,485, and that's for work at the Lorien Woods lift station. and that's to replace some piping internally to the, it's actually a pretty difficult project. We couldn't do that ourselves, so we had to increase the service contract. That's the first one.
Okay, if you want to read that, please.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve and execute contract maintenance form number 1, increasing the contract with Workman Industrial Services Incorporated for the removal and replacement of pipe in the Lorraine Woods Lift Station maintenance project in the amount of $13,485.
So moved. Second?
Commissioner DeWark?
Yes. Right.
Yes.
The next item, we're looking for your approval, the executing the engineering contract with Dilch Engineering for doing a condition assessment and engineering evaluation of a 1,000-gallon steel collection tank at the Bellwood wastewater treatment plant for $2,000. That's a vacuum system out in that neighborhood that's causing us some issues, and we're trying to determine whether or not to replace substantial portion of that, or we're able to keep it going. So we need to assess it properly.
Okay, motion, please.
So moved. Second?
Commissioner DeWark?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Is that one in South Russell Village? Okay. Okay.
One you're familiar with.
Well,
Yeah.
a realtor, I'm all over the place.
The third one, we're looking to, service contract increase $18,533 with Henry Electric to do wiring at our infirmary creek area and the lab facility down in Quinlan Road. We have to do some work out there, quite a bit.
So moved. Second?
Commissioner DeWark?
Yes.
Commissioner
Aye.
Spillier?
Aye.
The last item we have today for you is to approve and, we want to execute the OWDA fund payment request, our number 1, which is actually the 4th payment we've had to Workman Industries to get our money back from OWDA for $480,000, 266.
What was this for?
This is to get payment from OWDA for Workman Industries. This
Okay.
is their 4th pay request.
Okay.
But now we're going to a different loan agency, OWDA. We have 7.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner DeWark?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Any other questions? Then leave it for me.
That's it.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, sir. Okay. So we're on
16 and 17 is the amendment to the intergovernmental agreement for NOxCAD.
Oh, right.
The resolution is to then have you authorize to approve the amendment and then sign the new agreement.
Okay. Jim, were you up to speed on this?
Yes.
Yeah. You want to just say a couple things about that?
Well, it's a little bit of housekeeping. The NOGCOG is one county commissioner from Ashtabula County, one commissioner from Portage, and myself. And it's about, helping dislocated workers and following the unemployment rate, which is skyrocketing right now. And one of the amendment is basically 6 pages long, but to boil it right down, it's to allow this 3-person committee, 3 commissioners, to go to organizations like AWT or possibly GGP to fill spots in for businesses to be on a committee to keep this thing going, to keep the interest going. Been on the board since I took office, and I've worked with Margot and Greg to fill some of these spots. But when the economy is so great, not very many people want to talk about unemployed or dislocated workers.
Right.
So now that we're going to be ramping up, it's going to be a hot topic.
Exactly.
So my recommendation is to pass both 17 and 18.
Okay, thank you very much, Jim. Motion, please.
So move on 17 and 18.
Second.
Commissioner DeWark?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Yes. Very good. And then 18. So this is the Commissioner's Office, of course, and the Board approve and execute the master service agreement and general conditions between owner Geauga County Board of Commissioners and owners represented NV5 and the Geauga County Administrative Offices in the amount of $584,496.
Most of that contract is backloaded. It's on the construction side.
Right.
Which we may or may not get to.
Right.
But this is just to at least be able to keep going a little bit. At some point, we're gonna need to make a decision on whether we want to continue, whether we want to hold off for a couple of years. But what we need to do, would be to, we need to find a place for JFS within 3 years.
That's right. So
We may wind up having to do something else. These folks will be able to help us with that.
So it's extremely unfortunate, the times we're in right now. We're, probably this week or maybe even the last couple of weeks would have been making a formal announcement as to our plans for our county administrative buildings, but in light of our current situation and the pending budget reductions, we're going to have to put that on hold for now.
Right.
Until
That's part of the reason why I didn't bring the Donnelly contract,
Right.
which is actually the construction
Right.
side.
Right.
We're just looking at getting the owners rep on board because we may need them to help find us a place for JFS.
Yep.
We may need to, switch up and just do something for JFS. I don't know at this point.
Right.
Again, we the troublesome thing with this whole thing is that we don't get our numbers until,
3
for
months
March,
from now.
we won't get them until the June.
Right.
So really to have an idea of what effect we're gonna see, we can use what the state has.
Right.
Because the state gets their numbers immediately.
Right.
We have to wait. But, so we can use those, but that's just an estimate.
Right.
Until we really know what's going on.
Yeah, the income tax for the state just for the month of March, which was not a full month affected, it was down 8.7% or something, I think I saw last, or something like that.
The sales tax was down, it was down 9.5 off of the state's estimate, but it was only down 4.4 off of versus March of 2019.
Okay.
So it's depending upon what set of numbers you look. That's the other problem. You could look at 15 different sets of numbers and they're going to tell you different things.
Right, until it's in your account, you don't truly understand.
Correct.
We're not going to see the effect of March and April until, June and July, right? So, but I think, somebody made the comment, well, the sky's not falling, because we're sitting, I'd say stick your head out the window, because, there's going to be some impact for sure, and hopefully it's just a speed bump, but.
And we don't know what's going to happen even when when the state reopens.
Right.
Are people going to be willing to go back to restaurants and stores and anything like that in a big rush?
Yeah.
Eventually they'll probably get back there because Americans will go back to shopping and eating out. That's what we do good. That's what we do well. But, that's probably not going to happen May 1st.
That's right. Okay, so a motion please for 18.
So moved. Second?
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner's Office requesting the Board approve and authorize County Administrator Jerry Morgan to execute the following agreements pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 305.30, including County Commissioners Association of Ohio Workers' Compensation Group retrospective rating plan agreement, Comp Management, LLC Workers' Compensation Survey Agency Agreement, Sedgwick Claims Management Services Incorporated, Unemployment Compensation Service Agency Agreement, and Cleveland Clinic Lifestyle EAP Services. Agreement between Cleveland Clinic Wellness Enterprises LLC and Geauga County. Motion, please.
So moved. Second? Yes.
Right. Aye. And then the Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board appoint James Davis as interim temporary apiarist for Geauga County during the year of 2020 at the hourly rate of $13 per hour and mileage reimbursement at 57.5 cents per mile, and further execute the Ohio Department of Agriculture 2020 appointment for County Apiary Inspector form. Motion, please.
So moved. Second?
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Right? Yes. You want to just talk about the background now, what's going on?
Mr. Davis actually used to be the aviary for John County many years ago. He is currently Lake County's aviary, and with some getting into inspection season, it's a little slow because of the cold right now, but any beekeepers that want to split hives or sell queens have to have inspections done, and he is offered the state to do those inspections for us until we can find another actual permanent apiary for the county. So to keep our inspections going and be moving forward, this is an interim on-needed basis to get those hives inspected, just so we can keep moving forward.
And we had a long time rep for that, right? That we did for years, right?
We
Didn't
had
pass
a,
away
we
or
had
something?
a guy that was doing he came to session and did a presentation. He was doing, he was phenomenal. He unfortunately passed away in a car accident.
That's right.
And the gentleman that we had appointed last year, while he did do some inspections, he didn't turn any paperwork into the state, and there was some communication issues, and he just kind of like this.
It's hard to find
disappeared.
somebody
Right.
to do that. I mean, it's hard to find.
With some of the beekeepers that we have in the county, they don't have a lot of hives, and Barb just doesn't feel comfortable putting in somebody as the apiary that only has like 2 hives at their house.
Okay.
So she's being very cautious about who we have, because we have such large orchards in the county that we have to, make sure that we don't have issues with. So she is looking at other apiaries for other surrounding counties, of somebody that might actually be willing to step up and actually do both.
Okay.
A lot of counties do that within the state because it is so hard to find one.
Okay.
So that's where we are on that. Again, this is just temporary. I talked to Jerry. Lake County does $14 an hour and 58 cents a mile. So this is a slight increase, but of what last year's appointment was. But this is kind of like to split the difference, and then anybody coming forward would be in at this new rate.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna have a discussion about upcoming regular meetings. Jerry, do you want to chime in on this? I think, the way we're doing it now is, I don't know if you want to get back on a regular schedule, or if
Well,
this is working for you?
the way I would look at it maybe is just look at it and say that the governor said to May 1st.
Okay.
And then, so if you were to skip next week and start back up in May, being every week again, then you kind of, you follow the
Okay.
recommendation.
So the next Tuesday is the 28th of April, and then the following would be the May 5th, okay. So has that been working okay? I mean, as far as the load here, it hasn't been too bad?
Yeah, I've not heard anybody have issues with if they weren't able to get something done in 1 week.
Okay. Is that good for you?
I think
Okay. So why don't we do
we're
that?
slow enough right now that nobody's pushing to get it.
Okay.
So then you want to cancel April 22nd, is that what you want to do?
Or 28th?
28th,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, why don't we do that, move the meeting to the May 5th? Is that okay with you?
Yep.
I'm good. Okay. I'll second that.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Aye.
Yes.
And then the next item then is is a resolution to establish and change the location of our regular, special, and emergency meetings due to the current COVID situation, so that the meetings that we do have, then starting in May through the end of May, would be held here in Building 8.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that's probably Tom, I think I saw Tom here.
Yeah.
Probably for the foreseeable future.
I wouldn't make any plans. I think this is just a perfect arrangement for what we're looking at right now.
Okay. Okay, let me get a motion for number 22.
Motion.
Second.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes. Okay, and then, Jerry, we had, been talking privately, the two of us, and I know you've been in contact with the other commissioners over the last few weeks, and talking about what impact this is going to have on our budget here in the county, and what some steps or things we need to be thinking about moving forward. And, you know, there's been talk of furloughs, there's been talk of layoffs across the county, across the state of Ohio. I mean, there's other counties that are being much more aggressive than we are. There's some that are, you know, not doing anything. But I think in light of I've always felt that in light of our situation here, we need to be a little proactive in what we're going to do. Again, we don't know the forecast or what the impact is going to be, but as of now, we've been going on a 2-week basis, right, as far as letting people continue to work from home, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then what was the state with the 80-hour? They've given an additional 80 hours?
It was the federal government.
The federal government did,
It
okay.
was the 80 hours for people who were contact, I don't have my paper in front of me, it says exactly what it is, but who contracted COVID, who have to quarantine with someone who has COVID, or providing services to someone who has COVID.
Okay,
So that's the additional 80 hours for that. The other thing is actually being quarantined.
okay.
So that's the.
I mean, those are the obvious, but as far as anyone that has not come in contact with it, that is, I mean, I know we've got quite a few people that are working from home, is that correct?
Yes.
Different,
And those who could work from home, we send home again, just to kind of keep that
yeah,
distance from people. And also, if somebody did get sick who was in the office, there was somebody be able to back them up.
okay.
Without
But we do, at the same time, not everybody's working from home. I mean, we still have lots of employees in the county that are coming to work every day.
Yes.
Yes.
Still, building departments, full,
Yeah.
aging is.
Water resources.
Water resources,
I mean,
dog warden, I mean,
Sheriff.
they're not all, you know, they may be working, like dog warden, the deputies are working out of their house, so they're going straight from, you know, they're starting their day straight from home, they're going out. And then, you know, coming into there's no, right now, at least as of Friday, there were no dogs at the dog warden.
Okay.
They'd all been adopted out, so there wasn't a need to have somebody at the office.
Tom, so May 1st, what does that mean, May 1st?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Right now it's a policy date. The reality is that because we don't have broad testing of the public in general, we don't really have good data on what the prevalence of diseases in the public in general. So we test those that are sick, we hospitalize those that are very sick, and those are the numbers that we get to use. At some point in the next, and I suspect that this May thing, part of it's pushing to reopen the economy and get the money moving again, but I think it's also going to drive the necessity to have more resources for testing so we can better understand if that's causing a health problem relative to the economic. Those things have to be balanced. That's part of it, if you don't.
No.
I'm trying to set an example and get used to it, but it's tough. So right now, we don't know. We haven't, as the governor does his daily 2 o'clock, that's when we hear about it.
Right.
I had about a 90-minute conversation with the state director of health Sunday night, and quite frankly, she says that's usually when she hears about it. So there's a lot of this stuff that's happening very quickly. We know that there will be some things opening May 1st. We've been given encouragement that it's going to happen very slowly and see what that means. That doesn't mean that everybody has to go and do something different. I know at the health department, we actually, it's partly because of the May 1 date, but also partly because there have been some technology advances with regard to the contact tracing and monitoring all of those folks every day. We're going to be able to do that more remotely, which will mean that my population health team can actually hopefully deal with all of that. That means that all my sanitarians are going to go back to what they were doing. I know this is going to make you happy on those point of sales. So all of our inspections are going to go back full bore. That may look like business as usual, but the reality is all those folks doing all those inspections, they're going to be working remotely. because as the public starts to come out, as they start to go in the public, for some of the reasons Jerry said, I don't want them in the office any more than
Right.
they have to be. So the working from home thing or working remotely is very strategic in different ways. They're probably going to be working harder, they're just going to be working
I see, yeah,
on-site, right?
and there's nothing, as long as it's being, where everyone's being held accountable for their work
Absolutely.
at home,
Well,
I think is the
and
big
that
thing
was-
to the public.
It's the what's often called results-only work environment
Yeah,
has been around, and folks have been talking about that for decades.
and,
The challenge for public sector is we're highly scrutinized anyway. And we've all had issues over the years anyway.
Sure.
That one person that goes, takes a nap in the park or something, right?
Sure.
And, the fact that the rest of the world is learning how to work remotely and it becomes more the norm, I actually am in agreement with the idea that they can be more productive working from home without the hallway conversations and the break room conversations and the long lunch. I mean,
For
and
certain-
we'd say you're
certain
doing
jobs,
10
yeah.
inspections every 3 days.
Mhm.
All right, well, there you go. So we're gonna move towards that.
so do you think the role of your department and office is gonna get ramped up with the testing? I mean, you're gonna need more manpower on the street, right?
Yeah, so it's gonna be really interesting. I kind of laid it out, I meet with my staff in here every morning to do a briefing and said, look, as to quote the governor quoting Churchill, it's not the beginning of the end, it's not, what is it? It might be the end of the beginning or something like that, right? We don't know what's gonna happen because we don't know where we are. Would I prefer to have another month? Absolutely, on the health check. And that's my bias coming in. I recognize we probably can't afford to wait another month, I get that too. I'm hopeful that the state will have the tests to distribute. We have gotten a couple of distributions of tests. The first batch went to support some UH-Geauga work in the Amish population. Because they're going to ramp up doing some testing in the Amish population. Because part of the reason that we're struggling to get them on board with a lot of the social distancing and masks and such is our numbers aren't very high in the Amish population. And so when I talked to the bishops, they said, well, what are our numbers? I said, I think we've got 3 cases in the Amish. I mean, outside the obvious nursing home situations going on. So we're trying to ramp up testing there. So we're pushing tests down there. We've added the 50 that we got to UH. Geauga's effort there. We just got another batch of 80, I think. We're holding those off right now to see if we need to jump in early on another nursing home, if we have other nursing home events, which we will.
I guess my question is there any, if this thing continues to go the path it is and is slower, as far as, can we repurpose other employees throughout this county to help?
Yeah,
you?
one of the things that I would like to chat with you guys about is as those businesses open, based on our experience so far with the businesses that have remained open, in terms of customers emailing us, calling us, saying, hey, I've seen a group of people, they're not washing their hands, they're not taking their temperatures, we've responded to hundreds of those with significant help from others, most notably the prosecutor's office has left us an investigator to help out with that as well. We do those. So far, none of them have been substantiated. That's good news, but it doesn't mean that we don't have to keep responding to them, because that's the expectation.
A lot of those, I'm sure.
So what we put together is we also don't want to put folks that aren't under the control of the health department in a position where they're essentially going to lead to the closing down of a business if they're not compliant. There's a process issue there. So what we're doing is we're going to see if we can't find maybe any employees that might have some extra time that we can have to do what's essentially like the secret shopper kinds of approach. We don't want folks to go out and have to interact with management, not to go tell customers to do something, not to do, but just to go out when we get a complaint, stop in that establishment, do a walk around, see what they see, let us know if they've seen the same thing that the complaint person issued. And then we can go out and do that inspection, because I think that there's a lot of writing. But that first end, yeah, we could use some help with that.
Okay.
I think the rest of it, like I said, if the technology works with the contact tracing, I think we're going to be okay. They're rolling that out, I think, today. we'll see. It's, they're doing it statewide.
Okay.
So
Well,
we'll, if that works, we're good there, but
You know, I know,
complaints don't stop.
as far as Ohio goes, I mean, you see the news and whatnot, and some of the other states have gotten very punitive and, they're, with fining people or this or that, but I don't think,
So just to really quickly, we have fined nobody in
Yeah.
the health department. We have not shut down a single business in Geauga County from the health department. We have had lots of conversations with folks about
Try to
change
encourage-
business and
yeah.
what you could do instead, and some folks have opted to change business and then didn't support being open. I mean, that happens, but to close a business, you have to get a letter from me, and I would.
I would think, 99.9% of the businesses and people out there are probably looking to do things the right way, and they're probably asking for your help.
Absolutely, they are. We get daily complaints about the Walmart out of Middlefield. Right? Folks congregating, folks. So I went down there on Saturday. I drove, had my own car, didn't have any health department gear on, and walked through. The employees were all masked. About a third of the customers were masked. There was markings on on the floors for the distancing. There were shields up. Folks were doing an amazing job. And so I had my inspection form, and I wrote fully compliant. Wrote a note, thank you very much, from the health commissioner. I gave it to the manager. So folks really are doing it. I had a call yesterday from a gym that wants it's ready to open up.
Mhm.
So whenever that time gets called, and I said, I'm not calling that time. So whenever that time gets called, what are you doing? He called me, he said, here's what I'm doing. We don't have the time to go down and walk through every business in Geauga County and tell you exactly what to do. It's just not feasible. But when they call, I want to encourage that, because they're being proactive.
Yeah, absolutely.
We walked right through it. He was all ready to mandate masks coming in the door to a gym. He was talking about folks know how to operate their business.
Absolutely.
They want to be safe, they want their customers to be safe, they want their product to be safe.
Yeah.
So all ours, really the comments that I give are some of the things that you do routinely that you may not think about. He said, well, instead of having our members bring their own towel, we give them a towel, we collect the towel, we sanitize the towel. So that's great. But you know what gets wiped down by the guys in the gym with the towel? It's the bench, it's not the bar.
Right.
You gotta watch the bar.
Right.
So it's those little tweaks.
Sure.
And so they're being
Okay.
good. My fear about the businesses opening is not as much about the businesses, it's about the public in general, thinking that it's
There's no
time to go out.
Yeah.
And it's still not time to go out.
Mhm.
If you want to go out and you go do your pickup or go to your grocery, that's fine. Even go to the gym when they open, that's great. It's still not Motley Game time. It's still not event time. It's still not parade time. It's still not party time. That's not yet.
Okay.
We'll have it.
Well, I think, Jerry, I know you two keep in touch here, but as far as any assistance we can do it with, having other employees throughout the county being able to help assist Tom in any way, I don't know. We have a whole lot of employees not doing anything,
Yeah, that's one of the things we're talking about, is just what we want to do with that policy, because it's expiring tomorrow, because we did it the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So one of the things we could look at doing is possibly bringing back the people who are on the paid administrative leave portion, they could then help out with.
Okay. Okay, yeah, let's.
So it'll be complaint driven. I don't know the volume yet,
Exactly.
but I don't want to.
It sounds worth
I don't
preparing
have
for.
500 and not have anybody to go out.
Anybody,
And I don't want
absolutely.
to keep paying up gyms, so,
Sounds good.
Tom, I have a question on testing.
yeah.
Once you do get more test equipment from the state,
Yeah.
what's the mechanics of it? Does the doctor send the patient here? Do you?
We don't do that, yeah.
Does-
Yeah, help
or
me
do
on
you-
communicating this one. The health department does not do testing.
Right, or do you,
But
or do you
yeah.
collaborate with UH?
So-
And then you give the test to UH and then they go there, or what's the
Well, yeah,
mechanics?
so there are several different pathways. Some of the hospital systems are doing the drive-in still, where they drive up, the nurse is there, sticks through the window, gets you up the nose and so forth, gets a sample, puts it, and then they send it off to the lab to get done. We've had, typically what happens is in order to get a test, you have to get a doctor's order. It's just like any other lab work, right? You don't get a test for strep without having the doctor, healthcare provider, order a test for strep. It's no different than that. There are now some things that expand beyond that. CVS or Rite Aid, one of them, I think, is doing a drive-up kind of thing now where you're doing it to yourself. Can't imagine, I mean, that goes up the nose and it goes deep, so, you know, whatever, I mean, that's fine, if those are willing to do that. I think there's one in Akron, I don't know where they're kind of spread out yet. So there are different models that are coming online. The idea with the antibody testing has really confused an awful lot of folks, because if you show antibodies, it means that you had it or you have it. Your body's created antibodies to respond to it. If you're asymptomatic and have antibodies, you're probably in good shape, but that's all about you. It has nothing to do with, are you contagious for the next person you come in contact with. There's no evidence that suggests you're not. So, you know, as we talked about those antibody tests, we may be able to know the prevalence of disease, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those folks are over it and no longer presenting a threat. What we're doing is we're identifying a bigger threat. So that will confuse policymakers as well. So, yeah. Right now, when we get tests, they come to the health department from the Ohio Department of Health. They usually have some string attached, you know, do it with this person, do it with that person, whatever. The first batch came up, the strings weren't announced yet, so I knew we needed them in the Omni community, so I just pushed them on out. If you can beat the guidance, you're usually okay. So the next batch we'll see. Like I said, I think it'll probably be nursing homes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate your time and everything you do.
Thanks.
So, you know, moving forward, Jerry, I think talking to you and I think, you know, in light of some of the, what a lot of the other counties in the state of Ohio are starting to implement is a notice out to anyone impacted by the general fund and, you know, trying to find ways to reduce our expenses, right? And I think just a couple things that we've jotted down in talking to you and is some immediate future changes related to the general fund is implementing a hiring freeze. And I think, you know, this board should memorialize these things in either a resolution or just a formal note out to everyone under our hiring authority.
I think if you did an official vote.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
Just, yeah. So that would include no new hires or replacements at this time. No equipment purchases that were originally approved in the budget, right? Try to, or at least try to take a second look at these things.
Ken asking everybody, not just, the one thing I want to make sure we're clear on is not just the general fund, but I would say across all funds, just requesting people to take a look at them. Because again, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen with a lot of those funds that the departments get from the state funding or federal funding. You know, when the true effects of this all come out, that you might wind up with a lot of, you know, grants and that just, you know, withering up because they don't have the funds to cover them.
That's right.
So and that's kind of what I was looking at, was more just a request of all the departments and all the county officials to kind of just re-review your budget and any large budget purchases.
I mean, I think
really
your tax budget's got to reflect your revenue, right? Like your spending's got to reflect your revenue. Yeah.
And I realize nobody's seeing it right now because money comes in.
Yep. It's not immediate.
A couple months later than what it would be, but I want to make sure that everybody's going to review.
And I think a second thing, and I think we've already, you know, put this out there, that the official statement and put a vote on to make no adjustments to payroll or salaries at this time. So as far as, you know, any additional merit increases or salary increases, that's temporarily on hold until future notice, right?
Yeah, that would be another.
Yeah.
And this is normally about the time of the year where if something we'd be approving it. So
Yeah.
again, it's kind of a scary time just thinking about not knowing what is coming 2 months down the road. It's, you know, it's questionable. So that would be I think that would be a good decision to do now.
And I
it doesn't mean something can't happen, you know, 6 months down the road. if you wanted to, when, if it does all come back and we're running free and happy again.
Right.
But I think right now, just to say,
Well,
it's not gonna happen,
Yeah.
just
And
so,
then-
just so everybody knows.
And then as far as the departments, I mean, I know you asked or requested them to just go through the motions to look at reductions, right?
Yeah.
Potentially up to a 15 or 20% reduction, just to see where they could make those cuts, right? And did you receive those
I
reports?
received those reports from everybody. There were
Okay.
some good ideas with them, and
Okay.
recommended a couple of them, that, yeah, this is what you should do. Transit kind of had already done it by the time I had requested it. They already kind of reduced by 20% with those
Mhm.
unpaid leaves that they put in for their part-time employees. So, because they saw it coming real quick, because
Mhm.
people stopped riding the buses.
Okay.
So that was the,
And then deferring any purchases, if possible, only to those for immediate need, right?
correct.
No implementation of new programs that have a financial impact on the general fund. So I think if we could, put this together in a formal format, just so this board is all on the same page moving forward, and hoping that, the entire county will take the same approach, But, I don't know if we can write that up today or make that official today, or if we vote on that, or how you want to do that. But I think we need to put something out.
Yeah, I think so too. And I didn't think about writing up motions, but I
Okay.
think maybe just verbally create one.
Okay.
Rather than writing it up. And
Okay.
do it.
All right, so, I'll just say, an official statement and vote to implement a hiring freeze June 15th, until June 15th, okay? I guess we can reassess then? Yep, okay. So this will give us needed time to review actual revenue numbers being received, an official statement of vote to make no adjustments to payroll, salary accounts for this year, review of larger budgeted expenses, ask that all offices and departments review them, if ordered, and provide an explanation as to why the expense is necessary for the office at this time, or being immediate. If we could just get a motion to approve that for now.
That includes summer help also? Because I get free summer help a year, and they really help me out.
Yeah, I would say,
Unless I can get something from the jail to help me out.
I would say continue with the summer help, right? It's not a
And it's
huge,
pretty separated, right?
Huh?
And it's pretty separated too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
They do all of, I understand what you're trying to say, but the flower beds and everything, and is that unnecessary? I understand.
Right.
Maybe we don't need mulch this year, but we gotta at least grind it up and everything.
well, yeah, I think this will become clearer as we move forward. Today, sitting here, we can, I think what you have to do is maybe not prepare for the absolute worst, but we gotta prepare for, a good portion of the worst, and hopefully it's not, but I think to wait 3 months from now and wait to see what lands on our head, and hopefully we're in good shape, that's not a way to prepare a budget. So, but as far as what you're saying, I would say continue to go with, because they're good.
The only thing would be is that we decide, just so everybody knows, and especially who you're hiring as a summer help, that if we decide, if you decide that, you're gonna go with a furlough or
Oh, yeah.
layoff, they're gonna be the first ones that are gonna.
Yeah, if we start taking those, if it starts going that
That's the
direction.
policy, that's
Yeah.
the way the furloughs and the way the law is written.
Right. As of now, we have taken no action, no furloughs, no layoffs. I know there's other counties that have started that process.
I just want to make,
Yeah.
I think you can, you
Yeah.
can segregate out summer help for,
Mhm.
with that hiring freeze and say, that's not included underneath it.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure everybody understands that if we have to go furlough or layoff route, then
They get first
they're going to be the first ones to
to
go.
get it. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is for general fund support departments. since I'm enterprise, I would like some ability to skew from that because we bring in our own income and that be able to adapt to changing circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, it is different funding. We are still Geauga County representatives, and I would think that, although it is a different revenue source, I would think that we would still follow the same practices, or at least try to. As far as, I don't know how affected your budget would be from something like this. If people continue to pay their water bill, right? I mean, but if that stops, then your revenue stops, right? I mean, so I know, Jerry can probably attest to this, the water resources is run as a fairly lean crew anyway, right? I mean, you don't have a whole lot of excess as far as employees go, I don't think, but that's just my opinion. But,
No, we don't.
Yeah. But I would hope that there's ways that you could find to, coincide with what's going on with the county, Yes, Diane?
Yeah. Just curious about item number 18. There was a lot of discussion, both pro and con, and in the end, when you gentlemen approved number 18, am I to understand then that you're going to go ahead and pay $534,496?
No. This is, Jerry, do you want to explain that?
That's the total contract that was scheduled to be out
Okay.
over a total of 3 years. So it's an hourly rate, the maximum would be that if we went through and built the building and even if we use them all the time for what they, because that's, I forget how many hours that was, like.
Okay, so you are setting aside the funds.
Correct. The funds are being
Correct.
set aside to pay that over the next 3 years, if we go that far.
Okay.
Right now, where we're at is we're probably only gonna spend about $20,000 to $30,000 on them. And then if it moves, because that was I think that was the pre-construction number.
Right.
On what it was, so it's,
Okay,
the
so
rest
you're
of that
just
was all
keeping-
inspection and everything else when the building was being built. So it's
All right,
not.
so you're just keeping the contract alive at this point?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And we have the ability in the contract to cancel the contract whenever we want to cancel it.
Yeah, and, again, hopefully this is, something that we've all been working on hard for the last, since I've been here 4 years, but I think prior to that, Ralph will tell you that it's just something that, it's just, bad timing when it comes to this project, 'cause it's a sorely needed thing, but, again, I think we gotta, for now, kind of shutter things down and circle the wagons and let's wait and see what happens. But,
I think the biggest thing is if this thing hits again in the fall, that's the, everybody you listen to says that that's the risk. So all of a sudden now, what do? We're right back in the, we could take a couple hits, but if this is supposed to be worse than potentially what we experience now, then what? So it's just, when I came in here 8 years ago, they were still recovering from the whole, economy downturn. It took a long time to get back to where we're at now. And I don't want to see us get back in that situation again if we can avoid it.
So any other comments or questions, or, yep, Jessica?
Yes, I have a question. I think Administrator Morgan mentioned earlier about we do currently have a policy put in place regarding work assignments, the option to work remotely, the option to work, have some PTO, and I believe it does expire either today or tomorrow. Can you provide some insight on where we go from here? Because I do know many of us need to make arrangements with our staffing schedules. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think before you want to do that, I want to vote on your motion you put out
Okay.
on the floor.
yeah.
Do you want to add in to exempt the summer help from that?
How many summer help do you get? 2?
3.
3. And how much you pay them an hour, like $10 or something?
10.25.
Okay, yeah, and exempt the summer help.
And Steve's asking for two.
For 2 summer help also?
But
One's already there working.
yeah, one's already a seasonal bonus. He's already on the
Okay.
And if somebody else, if I downtime, and don't get me wrong, and if somebody else in another department needs help or something, I have no problem working with somebody.
Oh, no.
You know,
Okay. Okay, if we could move forward. Can we get some stuff done here? Sure. So, okay, do you want to make a motion on, and then exempt?
You made the motion.
Okay,
So-
okay,
Second.
but with exempting summer help?
Yeah,
And then also for Steve, too?
yeah, and exempting summer help, just.
Okay.
So I'll second that.
Okay,
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiller?
Right.
Commissioner Lund?
yes, okay.
Yes, final question, has the JFS Summer Help Program, the Youth Employment Program, is that totally finished? Has there been a final word about that?
And the TANF funding?
I believe it's not been stated that it's finished, but the government took the TANF funds and put them all towards the COVID and the unemployment. So I think in effect, it's
done, okay.
Yeah.
There hasn't been an official announcement of that.
Yeah,
but-
no, I haven't heard it, and I've asked.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, today, I don't know what the numbers were, but yesterday, they were pushing over 900,000 people have filed for unemployment in the state of Ohio. And it's, you know, it's close to 15% of our population. You know, just, 6 weeks ago, I think it was at 200. Yeah. So, this is pretty amazing, and if you take into consideration what's happening in this country and then across the world with employment issues, you know, this is not something where you snap your fingers or like a rubber band where it all comes flying right back together again, you know. It's easy to take stuff apart, but putting it back together again is the trick, and I think we are going to see some rough times as far as our revenue coming in, and there's going to be changes in the state level, you know, the way we've been funded, and but one thing that has always been true about Geauga County, with pretty much every, you know, as far back, and you know, and I'd like to give Dave Blair some credit too, you know, for, you know, his 14 or 15 years was, he always budgeted very conservatively for something like this, you know. So whether it was 2008 and 9, like you were saying, I mean, there were some big changes that he made, but we are in a position where we have been very conservative in our budgeting and able to put, you know, like for, you know, for the saving up of this building project, you know, that was, we didn't go out for a levy or additional tax increase on the residents. We were able to slowly build that up and sock that money away to get off, to be able to do something like this. But, you know, priorities are priorities, and if we've got to continue to operate out of whatever we got to operate out of, you know, I would say before we were to spend that money on payroll, I would look at ways to relieve the taxpayers with that money, you know, and saying there's avenues to get that money back to the public before we would, you know, spend it in other ways, you know. So unfortunately, that's the reality of what we're looking at today, April 21st. You know, hopefully June 21st, this is a different deal. But
I'm sitting there smiling.
yeah. So,
Just for clarification on roads, most of the road projects are going to go on this year because the money's already been set aside for a year or two, and it's not coming out of the general fund. A lot of it's OPWC, a lot of it, if it's in a township, the township pays for all of it or half of it, or municipality, and I think we'll really get hit this fall or next spring on the gas tax, because the gas tax is 18 cents. And then it trickles in, and then ODOT and our engineers set aside road projects. So there's going to be a slowdown this fall or next spring for roads, but everything that's on the books now, it doesn't come out of the general fund.
I understand it doesn't come out of the general fund, but it's still the residents' tax dollars, and there's, you know, there's preventative maintenance, and then there's, you know, there's ways to get in front of that too. It's kind of, so again, I know it's not general fund money, but I think wherever the money's coming from, it's still the taxpayers' money, and it needs to be looked at. Even if it's on the books for now, I think you gotta take a hard look at, do you continue to do it or not? And I'm not saying you don't do it, but I'm just saying it's gotta be looked at, you know, and that includes everything that we've already budgeted for this year, all the big ticket expenses, even including our contracts with MD5 and other things. You know, you gotta weigh the long haul, but I think for immediate purposes, any big ticket numbers going out today need to be, you know, I would put the freeze on that, you know. Not to be a doomsdayer, but I think it's just prudent to be very, very conservative with any money going out. You know, I know for me personally, you know, I'm not spending money right now, you know, so, and I would, you know, I think we need to live like the taxpayer when it comes to that, you know, and I know we're obligated to certain things, but even those obligated expenses, I think you need to take a second look at and see if there's creative ways to offset that, or, you know, like, you know, I just got a huge insurance bill for my business, you know, I'm trying to figure out a way to push that down the road later, so I don't have to, you know, put that on it now, you know, so. Anyways, so I guess with that being said, is there any other comments or questions?
The only other thing is that the temporary policy was put in place with regards to allowing the employees to work from home and the paid administrative leave.
Right.
That is set to expire tomorrow. I don't know if you want to extend that through
May 1st? Or?
Yeah, through May 1st or through
5th, our next meeting.
May 5th, which would be the next meeting.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you wanted to set that to be an end at that point. You know.
So what does that, explain that to me a little more, so.
It was the policy that was put in place regarding the stay-at-home order from the governor that, you know, allowed us to be able to let people work from home, and then as well as the people who weren't able to work from home but weren't necessary at this time to be at work, to be, you know, to be sent home as kind of a waiting in the bullpen in case somebody got sick. In a lot of cases, the employees were flipping off days. So one day this person would be here, and the other day the other person would be there.
Somewhat of a.
So they'd be paid for, you know, two days a week of paid administrative leave. The rest of the week they were at work, actually, you know, doing work.
So I mean, so nobody was without a paycheck, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Except for the ones who were approved.
Yeah, and it sounds
They
like.
wanted to leave.
Were they, it sounds like they were almost furloughing themselves, you said, like somewhere.
Well, it was, yeah, furlough would be.
But they were still getting paid.
So that, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
the option, you know, the options are just push it off till the next meeting. You could set now and say that, you know, we'll leave, employees working from home, allowed to be working from home through the end of May or through a certain date.
I mean, we'd have to look at.
And then slowly, you know, that way you can slowly bring the employees back who are working from home as you see that everything is working out. But, you know, I think the bigger thing is, and again, just, you know, for the perspective of the public too, of getting the people off of the paid administrative leave and back to work.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'd rather see, you know, getting back to work as much as possible. I don't know, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know the numbers or where they're working, or, you know, is there any, do you have the statistics on what we're looking at here as far as how many people, or?
I think total, again, it's hard to say because there's a lot of them that are switching off days. So it's to say that, you know, they're out on paid administrative leave, they're not out the entire week, they're out for 2 days or something along those lines. So it's, you know, if I had to throw out a number, I'd say probably about 20 to 25 employees are in unpaid administrative leave in some way. You know, it could be just one day, it could be up to a week and then they're back for a week.
Steve, do you have any of your employees at Water Resources on administrative leave, or are they all working?
I have really just one person.
Yeah.
And the other three are working in the office and at home.
Yeah.
So I have people with them.
I mean,
We have a very fungible schedule because our job is public health, sewage and water, so it's difficult to not have
Yeah,
people
yeah.
present for
I
operations.
mean, I don't know what other elected officials' offices are doing, you know, in this county as far as, like, what's at the prosecutor's office, what's going on over there? Is it-
The criminal people,
Yeah.
the ones that have court that have to be in the office are, come in for court. They usually have court every day, so we have only a few of those guys, like a JFS prosecutor, a
Yeah.
juvenile prosecutor, and a criminal. The civil division, for the most part, we work at home, we have VPNs, that's not an issue. And the clerical staff, he staggers them. They work, for the most part, most of the week, so it works out pretty well.
So it's still, I mean, as far as operationally, it's still,
Oh,
there's no
absolutely.
interference or?
Nope, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, they set us up with VPNs decades ago.
Right.
So, I mean,
Right.
we've always done that.
Done it
So
anyway, yeah.
It's, like you said, it's just business as usual.
Right, okay.
I make a motion to extend it to May 1st.
Okay, or May 5th, we want to go May 5th or 1st?
Which would be better, Chrissy?
Well, you don't have a meeting again until May 5th.
Right, May 5th.
So,
Yeah, May better because of-
between the 1st
Make it
and
May
the
5th,
5th.
yeah.
Second?
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Lund?
Yes, all right. And then as far as any other meetings, those are all to be determined. I don't think, we've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings, or at least I have had a lot of those lately.
Yeah, no access is doing.
Yeah, Job and Family Service was yesterday, so yeah, that's been working out okay. And then we will be back on the 5th. So, motion to adjourn.
So moved.